Hey, you. Yeah, you. Glorious listener of the JustJohn Podcast. It is my sincerest apology that they are replacing the pipes, the water mains on my street, and the second that I sat down to record the show, they decided to freaking blow up their machines and make it sound like someone's getting shit on outside. So throughout the show, you're going to hear some weird noises and stuff. I did my best to edit out everything that I could, but, you know, as I said when I started the show, I'm not the greatest editor in the world. So just bear with me, and I really tried to minimalize it, but I just wanted to let you know before you get started on the show. Thank you for listening. This episode of the JustJohn Podcast is brought to you by not a damn person. What up, homies? I'm John Medina, and this is my podcast, episode 10, coming to you pre-recorded from my living room. Today on the show, searching through Facebook, Blackberry is pricey. The meme versus the GIF. Siri sucks. Halloween time. No Shave November. An app review. And a podcast update. Beep, 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 beep. Update. Okay, so a few episodes ago, I talked about scrolling through Facebook trying to show somebody a video, and I was really upset because I couldn't search for the video specifically. Well, of course, it had to do everything with my podcast and me complaining, but Facebook has fixed that. You can now search through Facebook for videos. So I guess they realized that in order to actually compete with YouTube, they had to create something that would allow them to search through videos, because you've got all these people uploading these videos but no way to find them unless you happen to have liked them or shared them, and then you can scroll through your own page, or you can find their page and scroll through the millions of videos that are on there. So that has been fixed, which is great. Another update, Blackberry. So we talked about a few episodes ago again, we talked about Blackberry Priv coming out, which is BlackBerry's Android phone. It's going to run the Android OS, but it's going to have BlackBerry security, and it's also going to have the typical Blackboard. I don't know what that means. The typical BlackBerry keyboard. I guess that's what it was. It was BlackBerry and keyboard combined, Blackboard. But the biggest thing that I have to say about this phone is, man, is it pricey. So the phone's going to go for $699 retail here in the States, which, I mean, most of your higher end phones, your iPhones, your Samsung Galaxies, even some of the Motorola models are that price. But the thing about that is those are already premium devices, and BlackBerry hasn't been a premium device for almost 8 years now, really since the iPhone came out, but really once Android and iPhone were both out, BlackBerry just plummeted. So I don't think that it would be that it's successful for them to put it as a really expensive phone. I mean, yeah, they have a name that's popular, but only if you're over a certain age. And even then, when people hear smartphone, they automatically think iPhone or Android. They don't think BlackBerry. So I think it would have been a better business model to go ahead and market that phone as a little bit cheaper. That way they could kind of get a foot in the door. And then, you know, if they wanted to come out with some premium devices that were a little more expensive after that, they could. One of the things that I've noticed this week, I saw it twice, and that's what really made me decide to say it. People need to learn the difference between a GIF and a meme. So a meme, you know, picture with writing on it, you know, usually someone famous, or not even someone famous, but the picture has a specific meaning. So a different picture has a certain meaning, and that determines what words you put on it. A GIF is just a silent moving picture. But people are posting on Facebook GIFs and saying, I think this meme is super funny. And that just really, really irritates me. I know it's probably stupid and I shouldn't let it get to me, but it's just, it's one of those things, man. Like, I just really, really, really cannot understand why you would do that. If you're unsure what something's called, you have the power of Google at your fingertips at all times. If you're posting on Facebook, you probably have the ability to go Google and make sure that what you're talking about is actually accurate. But I mean, I guess it could just be that they think they know what it is, and, you know, I guess confidence is a good thing or whatever when you're doing that. But in the age of the internet where you have the ability to pretty much find out anything, I mean, you literally have the whole of human knowledge within your phone or your tablet or your computer, and it wouldn't take much to just figure out the difference between the meme and the GIF. GIF for some of you out there. Actually, let's stop and talk about that for a minute. GIF is spelled J-I-F. GIF is G-I-F, and that's how it's spelt, and that should be how it's pronounced. Of course, I know I'm going to get an email or a tweet from somebody that's like, no, you're wrong, I'm right, and I guess that's open to opinion, but when I talk about it, I'm most probably going to say GIF. I might say GIF every once in a while just to mix it up and try to appease everybody, but most likely not. Apple in the news again, always something about Apple. And once again, I know people are going to say, oh, you're an Apple hater. And what I really have to say about that is that I don't like Apple in terms of if I had to pick for a computer or a tablet or a phone, I'm going to pick an Android phone. I'm going to pick a Windows or Android tablet, and I'm going to pick a Windows or Linux PC, most likely Windows. I just don't mess with Linux a lot. But it's not that I hate Apple because, listen, Steve Jobs was a genius. I mean, he was just literally amazing. And Apple's marketing department is unchallenged. I mean, they can sell a $100 stylus pencil and just put a few words in their advertisement and put the Apple name behind it, and millions of people are going to buy it. It doesn't mean it's any better than any other stylus pencil-like thing that you can get on the market, but just because of the way that they market it, it's going to be bought. So understand that I respect Apple as a business, but their products just aren't for me. I'm not their target demographic. It's not something that I want. I like freedom in my electronics, and I don't like having to spend money to do literally anything. And that actually brings up the point of my whole story. So when you ask Siri a question, she searches the internet and usually answers it. If she doesn't answer it in words, she will at least pick up a article and pull it up for you. Okay, I know I'm calling Siri a girl and you can get a male Siri voice, but the original Siri was done by a woman. So Siri's just, for the sake of conversation, her. Right now, if you ask Siri what the top song in 1980 on the Billboard 100 was, if you don't have a subscription to Apple Music, she's going to tell you that she cannot answer that question for you because you do not have an Apple Music subscription, because somehow it is tied to the subscription itself. And I think that is absolutely ridiculous. It's just another example of Apple saying, oh, you paid so many dollars to buy our device, which most of them are retail now because most phone carriers don't do the whole subsidized contract thing anymore. So you paid $700, $800, almost $900, almost $1,000 for our phone, but that's not good enough. Not only are we going to make you buy 75% of your apps, but we're also going to make you pay for Apple Music to ask a question. Good thing the phone can still Google search, right? How long do you think it will be before you will not be able to Google search on an iPhone? I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they'll never do that, but there's a tiny little negative spot in my mind that says, oh no, they will do it eventually. They're just waiting until the right moment. I mean, we already saw them transition from Google Maps as the native app to Apple Maps, and it sucked and everyone was pissed. So they let Google put in an app through the App Store, and it's still used more than the native Apple Map app. But enough about Apple. I talk about them a lot, and so you'll hear about them 87 more times before the end of this podcast. Well, not this specific episode, but, throughout my podcast, I guess I should say. Halloween's coming up. Of course, we all know that, so we're going to see all these little kids around trick-or-treating, dressing up as superheroes and princesses and pirates and whatever. But in honor of Halloween, I've decided to talk about a few things that are just kind of tropes of Halloween, traditions of Halloween. Of course, the first thing is movies. So I've compiled a little list of a few of my movies that I really enjoy for Halloween, and movies that I try to watch every year, but it doesn't always happen. The first two are going to be more of childhood movies. Halloween Town and Hocus Pocus were both Disney Channel original movies. And so, a 90s kid here, grew up in the 90s, and those shows, those movies I watched pretty much every year, and I really look forward to introducing my kids to those shows. And I think they'll like them a lot. And, I know that a lot of shows and movies and things, like, you watch them as a kid and they're the best thing since sliced bread, and then you grow up and you go a few years without watching them, and then you watch them again and you're like, how did I ever even like this stupid crap? But those movies still hold up. They're still really good movies. The next 4 movies that I have on my list are more of your NSFW adult films. Okay, that sounded really bad. Not like porn, but like you probably shouldn't let your 5, 6, 7, even 10-year-old watch these movies. I don't know, whatever. I'm not a parent yet. Hellraiser. If you haven't watched, the first one is, of course, the best. That's usually how it goes. But there's like 15 Hellraiser movies. So if you haven't ever watched any of those, go ahead and I don't know if it's on Amazon or Netflix or Hulu. I doubt it's on Hulu, but Amazon or Netflix. But if it's not, I'm sure you can go to your local video store and pick it up for $1, 50 cents or whatever. Definitely try to watch that movie. It's creepy and it's weird, but it's a good one. Another good one, and this isn't necessarily a scary movie, this is more of a thriller, but sometimes I find thrillers more scary than horror movies because it's really hard to believe a horror movie, whereas a thriller usually is a little more based in reality, and that's what kind of gets me. The Strangers came out, I don't know, like 5 years ago or something like that. It's a really good movie. It's about these people that live out in the BFE, middle of nowhere, which happens to be pretty much half of this town that I live in. And people come in and kind of play it, like terrorize them and try to kill them and stuff like that. But it's a good movie. Watch it. Of course, I can't go without talking about the usuals, Halloween, but I really like the new version a little bit more than I like the old version, the Rob Zombie one from like 05, 06, around there. That's a really good version of it, so I prefer that one. And then the OG Friday the 13th. Can't go wrong with some Freddy Krueger, right? Those are my recommendations for some movies to watch. Another trope about Halloween would be haunted houses. I hate haunted houses. Not because I'm scared, but I don't want to go pay $20 to walk through an old abandoned factory or jail or whatever they've used to create this haunted house, knowing that I'm not really going to be scared because it's not real. Seriously, like, if you're going to pay $40 for a ticket to a haunted house, you better die. Like, that's the only thing that's worth your money because it's not even real. And, I know like most haunted houses, they can't even touch you. And not that I'm saying I want somebody to touch me. That's kind of weird, but it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just not my style. But for those of you that enjoy it, go to plenty of them, have a good time. Don't expect to see me there. Unless you're paying. If you pay, heck, I'll go. Whatever. Hit me up. You can pay for my ticket and I'll go with you and we may have a good time, but I'm not going to pay for it. That's all I'm saying. Costume parties. That wraps up your Halloween trope list by me. John Medina, the host of this podcast. The next thing that's happening in our world is November. Big month. My birthday is in November, and it's No Shave November. So for those of you that don't know the story behind No Shave November, by definition, according to noshave.org, I think there's a hyphen in that, so no-shave.org. The goal of No Shave November is to grow awareness by embracing your hair, which many cancer patients lose, and letting it grow wild and free. Donate the money you typically spend on shaving and grooming to educate about cancer prevention, save lives, and aid those fighting the battle. I think it's a really good cause, and I think that one of the things that happens with No Shave November is a lot of people participate, but they don't understand why they're participating, and they don't actually donate any money to anything. It's almost like that ice bucket challenge, right? If someone challenged you to the ice bucket challenge, you had to pour a bucket of ice water on you or donate however much money to, this charity, or a charity of your choice, their choice, whoever, whatever. And most people opted to go ahead and just pour the ice water over their head, but they didn't. And so, yeah, this act raised a bunch of awareness, but it didn't actually generate as much money as it could have if there was some other kind of thing. Like, okay, here's an option. They could have said, I challenge you to the ice bucket challenge. If you don't do it, you have to donate $100. If you do it, you only have to donate $10. Now, while that still prevents them from donating the $100 most of the time, most people don't have $100 to donate, but $10, every $10 would help. I mean, there were millions of people that did that so that they didn't have to donate. And that could have been $10 million. And so that's kind of the same thing with No Shave November. So you're supposed to grow your hair out. Most people do the whole no shaving thing. I'm not so sure that people don't cut their hair, but they don't shave their beard or mustache, right? And so that's to raise awareness. So I urge everybody that participates in No Shave November to at least try to donate $1 to the cancer charity of your choice. If you can't afford $1, 10 cents, 50 cents, a piece of bubble gum. Go without buying bubble gum for one day, and you can donate it to them. I'm going to participate, but I was not graced with amazing facial hair. I'm really jealous of all the people that can grow glorious beards, and maybe one day I will get there. My story, and I'm sticking to it, is that I was standing in line to get my beard hair before I was born, and I dropped my wallet, and I bent down to pick it up, and it missed me. If you want to imagine what I'll look like at the end of November without shaving for a whole month, go to Google and search Steve Buscemi beard. It's a horrible sight. But that's probably what my beard will look like. All right, so my app review. This week, I've decided to review the app Plague Inc. It's a game, Android, iPhone, both of them. Blackberry, probably not. Well, oh wait, it has Android, so probably so. Basically, what this game does is you can pick various types of sicknesses, bacteria, virus, this and that. And there's 3 different difficulty levels: casual, hard, extreme, whatever. And you pick the country that it starts in. So like, say you want to start it in the United States, which I don't recommend. It's better to start it in a less developed country because it's going to make it easier for it to get a hold and start infecting people. And as it infects people, you get points, and you can use those little points to upgrade the ways that it spreads. So you can make it spread easy through the air and through water and through blood. And then once you get a certain amount of people infected, you can make it to where it will start to kill. Because your goal of the game is to wipe out humanity with this virus. I know that's kind of messed up, but that's the goal. And so my strategy on that game is to make sure that the whole world gets infected before I start killing people. Because once people start dying, then they start noticing the virus, and then they decide to start curing the virus. So on some of the harder versions, like the extreme level, the cure goes really fast. On casual, the cure doesn't work as well. But if they manage to cure it and you cannot kill everybody before it's cured, you lose the game. It's really fun. Download it, play it, try it. My podcasting update that I was talking about at the beginning is that Google Play Music will now feature podcasts. It's going to basically be like the iTunes podcast system. There will probably be a Google-based podcast app, which I'm sure I will review once it comes out. And so you can basically just subscribe to the podcast through there instead of having to worry about getting your own podcatcher or this or that. And don't worry, I've applied, I've been approved. Check my Twitter, I showed it there. And so once I really don't know exactly how it's going to work. It's not out yet. Basically, they opened it up to creators so that you can get your RSS feed on there. But stay tuned for that. Special announcement, one last thing before I start my outro. We have hit more than 250 total plays on the podcast. I know that may not sound like a lot and that may not be a big deal, but to me it's a huge deal. I really didn't think that it would even get that popular. I mean, I know that half of those listens are the same people listening to every episode, but it still means a lot to me, and I really want to thank you. One thing that I do request, if you have the time and if you really, really like the show, is to go to iTunes. Even if you don't listen to the show on iTunes, just go to iTunes and rate and review it on there. Basically, that'll just help me gain some popularity in iTunes, which means that people can discover the show without following me on any other form. They can actually just kind of find the show and stumble across the show. And that would mean a lot to me. Alrighty, so if you enjoyed the show, please show me some love by liking, thumbs up, subscribe, share, rate, review, retweet, or whatever it is that's used to symbolize the love of the show on the platform you're using to view it. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyM_Revo. You can find the show at JustJohnPodcast.wordpress.com. You can listen to the show at SoundCloud.com/JustJohn-podcast or at YouTube.com/JFMedina2010. You can also search for the Just John Podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. And remember, without you, I'm just some dude talking to himself on the internet. Until next time, peace out, fam.